Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Creative Healing membership. I'm so excited to be here with Dr. Michelle Robin, and we're going to be introducing her shortly. I just wanted to introduce myself again, Michelle Hirschman with Hirschman Clinical Services. We do coaching work for folks with mental health, eating disorders, and substance abuse issues. We love to help folks come up with creative healing packages to support you beyond just the traditional approaches of therapy and psychiatry. So we hope that you'll reach out to us if you need any help. Darcy, can you introduce Dr. Michelle Robin?
Absolutely. Hi, all. It's my pleasure to introduce you, Dr. Robin. Dr. Michelle Robin is a leading expert in whole person wellness, a chiropractor, author, and speaker dedicated to helping people make small changes that lead to big shifts in their health and well being. She is the founder of Small Changes, Big Shifts and an advocate for creating vibrant lives through the Quadrants of Well-Being framework. And Dr. Robin's work can be described in this way. I guide individuals and communities on a journey toward well-being through my Quadrants of Well-Being framework, which focuses on the mechanical, chemical, energetical, and psychospiritual aspects of health. My work includes hosting a podcast, writing books, speaking at events, and guiding my clients on their wellness journey. So I'm so looking forward to finding out about what some of these small shifts and small changes for big shifts are, and I'll hand it back over to you.
Wonderful. Well, I had the opportunity to meet you when I was going to one of these wellness consortium groups that I joined. And then I was welcome to actually have a lunch with you. That's how welcoming you are to new people in the community. So I really appreciated that. And you're clearly a connector for many people and getting people their services and also all of the professionals out there so that we can start interacting and collaborate and support all the folks that are needing help. So thank you for putting in all the efforts to keep this consortium going.
Thank you. Thank you for showing up. I think that's probably the number one thing people can do is show up, whether it's for their business, their family, themselves, most of all, so they can give from a full cup. So thank you for saying yes. And, you got to say yes to Michelle's, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. Um, I'd love to kind of start with knowing how you got into the work that you are doing. Like what inspired you? What was your journey?
Yeah, it's a journey like many of your probably students or clients have, or most people in the universe have these days. This is trauma, right? I was a young kid, and at the age of 15, I got hurt playing basketball, and my mom took me to the hospital. Nothing was broken. Small town, about 10,000 people, and nothing was broken. So she took me to the chiropractor. I happen to know the chiropractor because I taught his kids bowling lessons. In a small community, people know what's going on. And I don't remember anything about the I'm the air quote chiropractic experience. I'm not sure if you've all had chiropractic experiences, but I do remember how they made me feel, and they made me feel valuable. And I've since have heard the phrase MMFI, make me feel important. Everybody has on their forehead those four letters, make me feel important. And so they made me feel important and valued as a kid, and end up really falling in love with the medicine of chiropractic, and probably went into it initially because of the soul healing. So when you talk about the psychology aspect that you gals do here, it really resonates with my soul. So that's when it kind of started really opening up for me. And then I went to graduated high school, went to junior college to play basketball, and took some chemistry. And the teacher said, Michelle, you're not going to be a chiropractor because you're really not very good at chemistry. And I believed him. And I went through and got my accounting degree, my undergraduate. I got a business degree with business accounting. But my senior year, I thought, you know what, I really want to be a chiropractor. And you get a few more years of maturity on you, just kind of figure out how to get it done. And since I've kind of, I wouldn't say fallen in love with chemistry, but I definitely have fallen in love with the whole person health. So I moved to Kansas City to go to chiropractic school 30 plus years ago, and got a chance to meet this chiropractor acupuncturist, Dr. Richard Yenny. And Dr. Yenny was always fascinated with the Asian lifestyle. As a young boy, he's Irish American from Independence, Missouri. And he was always fascinated with that lifestyle. And so he owned judo studios, and he was with President Truman on a trip being his interpreter. And he hurt his shoulder. He went to the hospital in Asia, and they did acupuncture. And he thought, wow, that was magic. And so he came back to Kansas City, and the closest thing to acupuncture at that time in the States was chiropractic. So he became a chiropractor, and he started teaching chiropractors and vets and MDs acupuncture. And I was fortunate enough to hear him speak at the chiropractic college when I was in school. And, success leaves clues, right? And so it's almost like he spoke to my soul. And most people are open hearted if you say, can I come learn about your practice? And he invited me in, and I ended up working in his office through his acupuncture seminars. And so, Michelle, part of my background is I have 300 hours in acupuncture training as well. And so you layer on the chiropractic philosophy of inside out job, and then you layer on acupuncture. And I remember being in class with him, like I said, 30 plus years ago, and he held up a manila envelope back in the days where we had those a lot. And it said 4 words on it: mechanical, chemical, energetic, psycho, spiritual. And it must have set in my soul someplace, because it really sat there. And I can remember him holding that up, by the way. His assistant, Dr. Yee, since his transition, but his assistant actually has that in that envelope still. And my undergrad, once again, is in business. And the body's like a business. If you think about it, you can't run a good business without operations, marketing, finance, leadership. You can't run the body without mechanical, chemical, energetic, psycho, spiritual. So I took some of my business acumen, and then I plugged it into what he said, and we created on my 25th year anniversary something called the Quadrants of Well-Being. And so that's a little bit of how I got into chiropractic, because I got hurt. I would say not a broken soul. I was definitely a hurting soul. My mother was married 4 times by the time I was 17, and none of my biological father. So you can imagine where there's some abandonment there, some trust issues. And this whole lifestyle helps me just really reconnect to myself and know that I'm okay. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
I love it. And I feel like, I guess I'm curious because there are so many chiropractors, and I'd love to understand more about your style, because obviously you do acupuncture, which is amazing, and unique. Can you kind of share a little bit about like what makes you stand out from other people? And 'cause I think there's a lot of like negative around how certain other chiropractors roll.
Yeah, well, first of all, there's a lot of chiropractors in Kansas City and cities where there's a school. So you need to realize there's less than probably 20 schools. I don't know the exact number now. When I was in school, there were 17 chiropractic schools in the United States. Okay. That's really not that many, about 50,000 chiropractors compared to about 500,000 medical doctors. And you look at chiropractic, there's about 100 different techniques. A technique is a way that I'm going to call remove a subluxation. Our whole premise of chiropractic is that the body has subluxations, which are misalignments that cause interference in the nervous system. And that interference can be caused by thoughts, traumas, and toxins. We call it the 3 T's. And so there's different ways to create motion in the spine. Some is low force, some is high force, some is middle force, some is instruments. There's just different ways. And so the thing that I don't think makes me stand out, just my assignment, everybody has their own assignment. My assignment is to take Dr. Yenny's legacy of whole person health and move it forward and get it out to be a little more mainstream. So I still practice traditional chiropractic. I use some instruments, I use some drop table, I use some flexion extraction, I do some manual adjusting. But my gift, and this is where I really am trying to hone, and we were talking about death doulas before we came on, as I'm in this next season of my life, thinking about how do I do what my assignment is. And so my passion is to have a person, typically a young person, and when I say young, 40 and under. Here's an example. I've got a young person that just came in to see me, and she came in because of digestive and anxiety issues. And she's going to be a nutritionist. She's at college, and she has been raised in this type of medicine, yet she doesn't know what's poisoning her body or causing the interference. So we're going to do blood work tomorrow, which is great. Kind of more, I would not say it, when you're in this space, it's always extensive or extensive. So there's traditional medicine blood work, and then there's middle of the road, and then there's way over here, where you do heavy metal and mold and poop tests and all that. What kind of, I would say we're just a little bit to the right of from traditional, but we do a panel that's about 7 pages, and we'll get a chance to see what's going on. Does she have any, is there ANA positive for autoimmune? What kind of foods are triggering her? What's her thyroid doing? What's her blood sugar doing? And we look at that in detail. So I love getting to sit with somebody and guide them on what are some possibilities, some small changes that will lead to big shifts in their well-being. And we write a wellness plan. So the minute I'm sitting with somebody, I'm thinking, okay, well, you're sleeping on your stomach. That's horrible for your nervous system. Or you know what, you're not moving at all. That's not great for your nervous system. You are, maybe you don't get any type of body work. You don't take care of your feet. People, what I would tell my younger self is take care of your feet. They're so important. And then we also, maybe it's acupuncture. Maybe she's eating great, but she's got maybe some scar tissue or some old trauma that's stuck in her body. So I absolutely, lights my soul up to get to do that work. If I had a magic wand, I would probably just do that all day long. Like I said, I love the philosophy of chiropractic. I love being a chiropractor, but there's people that can do chiropractic, but not many people think about it in an umbrella approach. So I think what makes me not special, not stand out, just makes me on my assignment, which is to teach whole person health.
Yeah, because I've only had a limited experience with chiropractors, and it's always usually about like cracking bones or massage. You're taking it to a whole new level, and it sounds like you're able to tackle different health ailments, right? Like versus like, oh, my arm hurts, let's go to a chiropractor. You're saying like, hey, you can go in there and you can actually tackle a lot of different pieces.
Yeah, it's same philosophy, removing the interferences. Okay, and if you think about the way the body works, you got the brain and spinal cord, right? In order for my brain to work, I've got to have this communication, which comes from food and what you put on your body, what you put in your body, whether it's the drugs or the hydration or the vitamins or the food you're eating or the chemicals you put in your body. How do we remove those interferences? So in a nutshell, it's all about interference. It could be interference for the way I'm talking to myself. It could be interference for the person I'm sleeping with does not support my own magnificence. It could be interference, let's say, because you're sleeping on your stomach or you sit on one of your legs crossed when you're at your desk all day long, which throws off the pelvis imbalance. So I'm a magic at trying to see the interference. It could be sitting on your billfold all day, which is just a small change that leads to big shifts. I'm always shocked when I see people for 30 years. I got this guy I've seen for 30 years. He's one of my actually longer than that. He's one of my patients in chiropractic school, and he's moved in out of town. I saw him recently. I said, "You're still sitting on your billfold?" He goes, "I am." I said, "What are we going to do with you?" But all you can do is reveal it to people, and they've got to decide if they want to walk through that. And I think that's the lesson of being a provider, is letting go. Open eyes, open heart, open hands, open minded. I'm going to share with you, and if it resonates for you, you decide if you want to do something with it. I can't tell you what to do with your life.
And do you integrate supplements and other types of things?
Yeah, I think as a collective, we take too many supplements, okay, as a collective community. So I work with a kinesiologist. So in chiropractic, one of the spin-offs was applied kinesiologist, where you're able to muscle test the body in its own energy field. And so I work with Dr. Georgia Nab, who's maybe 100 people trained like in the country. She's a chiropractor, kinesiologist, functional medicine doctor, and she can muscle test. So if I see somebody, they come in with a lot of vitamins, I'm like, you know what, let's kind of clean up what you're putting in your body. So many times we'll say, I'm going to take this vitamin and I'm going to eat poorly. It doesn't make sense, right? So, but we do test some vitamins. We test the biggies. We test, of course, vitamin D. I think it's my top probably 5. Top 3, of course, are vitamin D, omega-3s, and magnesium. So we can muscle test as well. But we're kind of like less is more. Less is more. I've been in this space for almost, started at 15, almost 45 years, and I didn't start really taking vitamins till really a decade ago, consistently. And that's about the time Dr. Georgia joined me. And I needed a little bit more of the science of why I needed to take them. And then just, does my body really want them? So yes, I work with supplements. Do I, like, someone will come and say, somebody came in last week and said, hey, I want this stuff, this for my daughter, this vitamin. I'm like, I don't know what's going on with your daughter. I could sell you a vitamin, but I don't know if it's right for her. She's like, oh, trust me, I could sell $10,000, $15,000 of vitamins a month to people just curious, but I'm not sure it doesn't feel like the right thing for me to do without knowing what's going on with people.
Are there any type of patients that you wouldn't work with or that you would prefer out or?
Well, of course, people that don't think we can help them, number one. They'll be dragged here. Sometimes I'll ask a husband, are you here under your own free will? And sometimes it's not working. Or if you're not going to make changes, don't waste your time and money. And I really fall in love with the people I get to take care of. It's a privilege to care with people, and you know that already. And so it's kind of, I just kind of ask them that. A lot of people do come in on their own free will. So, but yeah, there's some people that need if I reel that back a little bit, and I think you know this, as a young doctor, you thought you could help everybody. But you realize as you've been around it, some people have a lot more going on than you could help, or they're taking 10 or 12 medications, and 1+1 medication does not equal 2. 1+1, and the studies show equals a lot more than that. So you don't know the side effects. So without a doubt, there's some people, do I want to try to help? Without a doubt. And sometimes I'm like, we need different providers, or I'll be part of the team. The good news why I like the wellness community is I don't believe anybody goes alone. I always say I have a bench of healers. I use like 10 different massage therapists, and that's just the massage. I use about 5 different chiropractors. I have different acupuncturists. I have different providers that I use, and sometimes they're off the bench in the game, and sometimes they're on the bench.
Well, and because I have this kind of inside scoop about you, you're located in Overland Park, correct? And you're in a building with like a slew of different healers of different varieties. So I love that you're so collaborative too. It sounds like there's times when you're like, oh, we might need to kind of utilize this support. And if it happens to be in your building, that's amazing too.
Yeah, I refer more out of my practice than I refer in my practice. And there is 5 chiropractors, 3 acupuncturists, a handful of massage therapists, a couple of therapists. We have a naturopathic doctor as well. But I give referrals out every day to people out in the community. That's why it's so important to me that we have a common language. Because there's nothing like me sending somebody to a physician and like, why are you taking your vitamin D, or why are you worried about drinking your water, or Diet Coke's not bad for you. So yes, I love it. I love community. I feel like that's one of my assignments.
I'm just curious because I'm thinking about some clients of mine that I work with around side effects of medications they're taking, and they might need to stay on it. Are there ways, do you ever creatively deal with that versus, saying, oh, you've got to get off your meds that is stabilizing you?
Yeah, it's that I legally, by my scope of practice, and I think it's important you stay in your lane, is I cannot tell people to go on medications or come off medications. That's not in my scope. But I do work with MDs, and we'll talk with MDs. I've got the good news is I have some hospital relationships. So I have a client that came, his gal brought him in under his own free will, and he's really sick. My team, we kind of do a team kind of a consult. Is I will start with them, and then I'll bring the acupuncturist in that knows nothing about them, and I'll do a tongue and pulse diagnosis. We can talk about it if you want. And then I'll bring Dr. George in, who will kind of scan them from a kinesiology perspective, and we all walk out and go, this might be cancer. So then we hooked him up with a medical doctor whose iron's totally trashed, which he thinks what else is going on with the gut. But he does have a high gluten issue. So we do work with the other people. And once again, I'm really clear on my lane. My lane is not to get on off medications, but I will say go see the medical doctor, and then I will help them find somebody.
I kind of want to, I want to ask more questions, but I'm going to open it up and then I'll probably come back around again. Darcy or Colleen, do you want to jump in and ask any questions directly?
It might be too broad a question. I'm just wondering if you could just touch on a little bit of what those 4 different
Quadrants.
Sorry, yeah.
Well, you can see behind me if you're on, you can see it a little bit of, we call it a framework. mechanical as the nervous system. And
Mhm.
what affects the nervous system is going to be traumas, like, I got hit by a car on my bicycle. That really messed my nervous system. Concussions, sleeping, posture or getting sleep, period, and then motion. And it could be also too, so many people don't realize that moving forward, this head carriage that goes forward really impacts your nervous system. So that's why posture is huge. And then and
Mhm.
also the feet. And then you've got, I'm going to step this way, then you got the chemical quadrant, right? And you look at, you see the DNA strand. And so
Mhm.
we know that we are all programmed a certain way, that it's what they say 67% what happens to you is lifestyle. It's not your genetics, it's just it actually kind of activates them based on not doing or having things that cause those to trigger. It could be the nutrition, it could be hydration, the supplementation, once again, the stuff you're putting on your body, in your body, the air pollution, the water pollution, and that's a whole conversation that we could have. And then you look at the energetic. I would say the energetic is probably the one that's not understood the most. You feel it though. I don't know about you, when you walk into a place and you
Mhm.
feel the energy, you're like, oh my gosh, I want to stay here. Or, oh my gosh, I need to run,
Mhm.
right? And so, and in Chinese medicine, we call that qi or life force and life essence. And so, I think about, like, I've got an Apple Watch on today. Do I sleep with it? I don't. Do I sleep with an Oura ring? I don't. Do I want to sleep with my phone? No, because I want that EMFs away from me. And so that's kind of this. I think the EMS will become in more and more. It's even the hugs. We give heart to heart hugs. People come to see me and they're like, okay, why do you do that? And I'm like, well, let me show you what it feels like to give a hug the way most people give a hug, and then I'll give you a heart to heart hug. And you're like,
Right.
oh, I feel the difference, because we're communicating, and I think that we take for granted that communication. And then, of course, what you guys are all experts at is the psycho-spiritual side, which
Mhm.
is actually my first love. If I wasn't a chiropractor, I'd probably be a minister. If I wasn't a minister, I'd probably be a psychotherapist. But we do know that if you don't heal the heart, you'll never heal the body. You can know that you need to have good sleep hygiene, but you don't love yourself. And so
Mhm.
instead, you're eating bonbons and watching Netflix, and then you're wondering why you don't feel good. And
Mhm.
so that's why it's so important that people have, in my opinion, a mental health professional or professionals
Mhm.
on their team. And it could be a podcast. I've got a new meditation I've been loving the last 60 days. It's by Jess Heslop, and it's an 11-minute thank you meditation. I don't think we say thank you enough to
Mhm.
people around us or to ourselves. I mean, my eyes work right now. Yes, they're changing. My ears work now. Yes, they're changing. My hands work. I see the changes in my skin. But you know what? I'm pretty lucky compared to the average person. I can get around on my own. I can walk around. I can take the stairs. And so I believe it all starts at the psycho-spiritual aspect. However, most people come to see something like me. They don't want to talk about that initially until I do the standard questions. What kind of trauma you've been in as far as car accidents? I think you'll find this interesting. I try to ask two questions of everybody that comes in to see me. The first one is, tell me the worst thing that's ever happened to you. Probably a therapist nightmare question, right?
Mhm.
But I get a chance to see their perspective of life. And then on the next question, of course, I follow up with is what's the best thing that's happened to you? So I can see that. So that, Colleen, does that help you?
Yeah, yeah. It tells me a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, and I have about 75 tips for each quadrant.
Oh,
So when
wow.
somebody comes in, I'm thinking about, okay, here's a neck exercise you can do to help you turn your spine on. Here's one for your low
Right.
back, for the left of the eye. Or, by the way, if you have gut issues, are you eating too fast?
Right.
You hydrate before you caffeinate. So I
Mhm.
have a bunch of different ideas, and when we're doing that, my team is actually creating a plan as somebody's talking to us. They're typing, I'm talking to the person, they're saying, okay, they sleep on their stomach, let's talk about sleep posture. Or they are they have bad sleep hygiene, let's talk about maybe getting to bed at a different time. Or they can't look themselves in the mirror, so that there's some issues with self-esteem and self-confidence.
Oh, very cool.
I was gonna, and Darcy, I'm gonna open it up to you in a second. I was gonna ask you kind of what to expect, because a lot of folks that have never been to a chiropractor before, what would it, how many sessions do you usually see people? How long is the session? Can you maybe elaborate on that? Because it sounds like you give them this map plan before they leave. That can be really helpful.
Yeah, across the board, you can go and get adjusted. It may take 2 minutes. Okay. and it may take 30 if they're going to do muscle work. In order to give a great adjustment, it probably takes 2 to 5 minutes, especially if you're dialed in and you're not talking about anything else. Unfortunately, people equate time with value a lot of times. But if I'm really dialed in with you, and I could spend 5 minutes with you, and I'm like so present with you, I'm in your skin. It could feel like 30 days, right?
Mhm.
Or I could be with you and we're not connected at all for 30 days and where there's no connection. So I hate to use the time factor.
Mhm.
Let's say to give a really great adjustment, if you're really dialed in and you're really listening to the person's body, you know, and you've got some technical skills, once again, you give a great adjustment in anywhere between 2 and 5 minutes. It just depends what else you're doing. We educate people along the way, by the way, and but,
Mhm.
you know, here's the good news, bad news. I can tell when people aren't following the plan a little bit because they don't want to come see me, because they know I care. And they're like, you know, I didn't want to come see you because I'm out drinking too much alcohol, or I'm still drinking Diet Coke, or
Right.
I am not doing any of the homework you gave me. And so I would tell people it depends on, now, as far as timing, how many adjustments, it depends. If you're a 15-year-old kid who needs a tune-up, a couple. All right. If you're somebody who's had a car accident, who's had concussions, who has autoimmune, you need more care. Probably the same thing in your business. You have somebody who they're dealing with a breakup from their first love. That type of care is different than somebody who's had sexual trauma and all that. So I try not to. It just depends on what's going on. As I'm teaching my team, I'm like, okay, you got to kind of almost put them at a certain level. How much spinal degeneration do they have? You know, they have mobility in their spine. If you lose motion, you lose function. And most people don't know to take care of their nervous system. I think it's one reason I've been lucky. I think about the moving sliding doors. Have you seen the moving sliding doors with a Paltrow? Yeah, you know, go this way, do you still end up at the same place?
Totally different experience,
Yeah.
life experience.
You know, yeah, I don't know. So I've been adjusted on average every 2 weeks since I was 15 years old. Knock on wood, no medications. I have no health conditions. I have no autoimmune conditions. And I've led a fairly stressful life. But once I focus my non-negotiable food is sleep, motion, hydration are 3 of my non-negotiables. So hopefully that kind of answered your question about, it just varies on who's presenting in front of you.
Mhm.
I would tell you though, here's what I would say. If someone comes in and says, you know what, you need to come in 3 times a week for the next year, I would probably question that. Okay.
Mhm.
Unless you are somebody who's 7 years old, never had any type of care
Mhm.
before, which happens. It's like going to the dentist, you know. If I went to the dentist and they looked at my teeth and they said, oh, Michelle, you need to come and get all this done, I'd go, well, wait a minute, you know. I've not had much dental issues. I've gone to the dentist 3 times a year for the last 20 years. And you're going to tell me I need all this? You got to listen to your spirit.
Is what you do covered by insurance in the States?
You know, yes and no.
Yeah.
Colleen's a great question. I wish it wasn't covered at all, but it is. I don't personally take any insurance because they don't like me in a wellness lane. Insurance is made for sickness, and the word patient means one who suffers. I'm
Mhm.
trying to help people so they don't suffer. But 2 of my partners do take insurance. It is covered somewhat, but I would tell people to you know, I don't know about in Europe, but you know, we have these things called health savings account, flexible spending accounts. I would maximize those, and that way you may not have money in your checking account, but you have money in your health account.
Mm.
So.
Yeah. Darcy, did you want to ask anything?
Oh gosh, I have so many things. When you said at the beginning we could talk for hours. Chiropractic is something that I actually have a fair amount of personal experience with and have taken years of break from, and I've been wanting to reintegrate. And your approach is the affirmation that I've been wanting and needing about how to go about that, because what you just said about you know, the focus on illness, you know, how that shapes so much philosophy is what's kept me hesitant. And it's like, well, I can have this as a priority. You know, intention goes a long way. because really my intention is wellness, as I know so many who come here and are a part of our community, share that. And I really appreciate what you shared at the beginning about how, painful experiences led you to discover this modality and this path where you're of such incredible service. So thank you. One of the things that I wrote down that I wanted to pull up because there was a key word. So the interconnected aspects of well-being and how you describe that in these quadrants. I'm wondering if there's anything specific that you typically suggest or find that people who are coming to you maybe more at the beginning of their journey that are really beneficial when it comes to those small changes that can lead to big shifts. Anything that you could share that we may be able to benefit from?
Much. You're exactly right. It depends where you're at on the spectrum of this whole wellness journey, right? It's like a newbie. Okay, example, I had a client come in with horrible peripheral neuropathy, drinking Diet Coke 6 cans a day. Diet Coke is poison. And so I would say, first of all, if you're somebody who drinks Diet Coke, I don't know how it's serving you. No one tests positive at Diet Coke. Oh my gosh, there's a shortage of Diet Coke in my chemical reaction. But to put it positively, hydrate before you caffeine would be huge. Do you want to be a grape or do you want to be a raisin? How about you? I want to be a grape, not a raisin as I age. And how do I kind of keep that? So you got to hydrate. Would be huge. Once again, and this may be just the time and where I'm at in my society, take care of your feet. To make sure you're wearing the right shoe size. So many people come in and they're having foot problems. I'm like, when's the last time you had your foot measured? They're like, when I was like 18. I'm like, well, you're 50 now. Your feet change. They're like, oh, wow. And they'll go get new shoes. And they're like, oh my God, voila, my feet are better. That's huge. Really having a supportive sanctuary for sleep. About whether who you're sleeping with or what type of sheets you have or your bed. I think that's worth a great investment. Would be
And
huge.
with dog, that helps a lot, I find.
What'd you say, Colleen?
My dog, sleeping with my dog is the best thing on earth. My,
Yes
hu-
and no.
my husband's nice too over there, but like with my dog, that's just oxytocin heaven.
Yeah, you got the psychological benefit, but the mechanical benefit is sometimes you're fighting, in my case, a 10 or 12 pound dog for your share
Yeah.
of the bed. So I've been dogless now for just shy of 11 months for the first time in my professional career since I moved to Kansas City to go to chiropractic school. And it's interesting. There's the missing them of the cycle because the other side of, I'm not getting up at 3 o'clock to let them out in the middle of the night. So I will get another dog, just so you know, Colleen, I'm with you on that. Yeah. So others would be, here's a simple one: is rub your ears.
Yeah.
Auricular therapy. You've got the auricle here. There's something in Chinese medicine. You treat the whole body through the ear, treat the whole body through the hand, treat the whole body through your feet. Then you have body points. So I think rubbing your own ears is huge. Here's a great neck one. You want to do it with me? I'll teach you something. It's so much fun. So I'm going to have you turn your head, and then I'm going to show you how to do it. We're going to do it together first, okay? So turn your head to the right, and then to the left. Okay, you got a little bit of tightness, probably, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I have like killer. Yeah.
Okay, so watch me do this before you do it. I'm going to look down with my eyes, and my chin is unusual. I look down with my eyes. There's a muscle inside your neck called the anterior neck flexors. They're going to get engaged, and then I'm going to push, which gets my multifidus muscle, which is the one that's close to the spine. So once again, watch me do it. It's really fast. It takes seconds. I'm going to look down with my eyes. I'm going to push, and I'm not tapping, by the way. I'm actually pushing. You'll see these muscles engage. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to look down to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, and move to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down all 3 ways. Okay, it doesn't matter which way you go, but I'm going to talk you through it. So big and tall. Okay. Now put your right hand by your temple, and you're going to look down with your eyes. I'll walk you through. So just keep looking down the whole time. Don't take your chin down. Push. 1. Now do the left side. 2. Keep looking down. 3, 4. Now keep looking down, but look over your right side. Now push again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now look the opposite direction. And you push again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now turn your head to see how that feels. Anybody feel a little looser?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? So that's
Yeah.
just a really simple, and you think about how do I habit stack that? Most of us brush our teeth. And so maybe do that before and after you brush your teeth. It takes seconds to do. That's probably my number one neck thing.
What's
Number
it
one.
called? Is there somewhere to find like lots of stuff like that? Exercise
You can maybe go to my what's it called?
website?
YouTube page. Is it YouTube? I think it
Okay.
should be. I don't know. That's
And you
just
do exercises on it?
yeah, teach people how to do some of those things. It's just a combination of learning things through the years. And I can send you a video if you send me a thing on LinkedIn and say, Michelle, send me that video. We can send it to you as well. So Darcy, that's something that I would highly recommend. And of course, just being grateful.
Just what?
Being grateful.
Being grateful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. I'm grateful for the experience I've had so that I would
Thank
be right here.
with us where it is. Can we get that from Michelle later? The thank you meditation.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Just send me anything that resonates with you. I mean, just like I said, you can send it on LinkedIn, or you guys can send me. We actually have when I do some speaking, and we'll send people a sheet afterwards based on the quadrants to say, okay, here's some of my tips that I shared with you today about exercise or phone over balance or chewing your food or the 7 most common foods that cause dis-ease in the body for the majority of people, not everybody, but there's the 7 most common. So.
Hmm.
You've mentioned feet a lot. What do you recommend for people coming in with bunions?
Well, reflexology I think is great. Making sure you have the right shoes, doing some finger holds or toe holds. Have you heard of that? If you look up finger holding, it's actually got a name, but finger holding, it is a way to energetically treat yourself. And all the meridians either start in the hands or they start in the feet.
Yep.
So that's a great idea. I think those acrylic things where you yoga toes are a good possibility. Massaging your feet yourself, Epsom salt soaks. There are so many things you could do to take care of yourself.
I forget how lucky we are here. Like we all go to the kine, it's covered. It's the key that you go and get the adjustments. I go to the podiatrist all the time. They do massage, pedicure. Like we got water therapy that's covered. I forget, like, got it good over here.
When I love water therapy, I don't think we use water enough.
Thalassotherapy. They love it here a little bit weirdly, but yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, that's huge. When I come over there next month, I'll have to go try that.
Yeah.
See if so there's a lot of things that aren't super expensive.
Yeah.
My first book's called Wellness on a Shoestring: 7 Habits for a Healthy Life, and so I just think there's a lot of little things you can do.
Hmm.
I love that ethos too, because it could be really overwhelming with the busyness of life, and then going to see a doctor that then proceeds to tell you have to do like 50 things, and then they leave and they're just overwhelmed.
Yeah, I try to tell my clients, I'm going to overwhelm you today. I'd rather overwhelm you than underwhelm you, and you get to pick what you want to do.
Hmm.
I'll send it to you and you say, okay, I can do that one. And it's just like putting tools. My friend Sonia Choquette says you're just adding tools to your belt, and then all of a sudden you have 3 new tools. And then guess what? You add 3 more tools. Because I'm guessing, once again, when we were little, we didn't have the tool belt of taking care of our mouth, whether it's brushing, flossing, dry brushing, oil pulling, whatever the case may be, that we just learned that throughout our system too.
So you how much of your time are you doing chiropractic work now? Because I know you are doing the podcast and all these other elements. Do you do less of that, or is that still pretty big?
I do a little bit less because I have a couple associates that help me,
Okay.
and so it just depends on the care, so on what they need. So yes, to answer your question, I'm trying to do less. So
What are you enjoying most now?
I really love the ahas with people and giving them choices and guides. That probably jazzes me more than anything. This morning I came from a mentoring Mondays event where across 100 cities there's a group of kind of maybe more seasoned businesswomen that mentor other people in business, other women, it's all women. So, and, I like so much of it. I know, and I like adjusting. So, but once again, there's things that other people can do, and I think you start to learn that time is short. You got to really focus in on what the Holy Spirit is guiding you to do. If I'd imagine one and $1 million, I would go and coach people, give them, I'd just be a guide all day long. So here's a plan, here's some ideas, come back in, let's check in. I would do that in a nanosecond.
I love that. I feel you.
Do you ever come to and do stuff over here?
I come over to visit, but I have not. I've done Canada and Mexico, but not in Europe. So, but I'm open. Invite me.
Yeah.
I love teaching. Like I said, I just want to make it more simple for people, but people also got to realize they've got to get invested. I'm sure it's the same thing with therapy. You've got to do the homework if you really want to transform your life. And we all deserve, all of us deserve to have a magnificent life. The question is, are we willing to do what it takes to have it?
Staying open, yeah. Well, Colleen's quite a connector over there, so
yeah.
Link it in together. Darcy, anything else you want to add?
Yes, I have one more question. I'm wondering if there was anything that you would want to nudge or encourage the former part of you to embrace more fully or release more gracefully to really support you in these small changes, big shifts, and what you're now supporting so many others, including us, to do. What would that be? Or what would one or two of those things be?
Yeah, before I say that, I have an answer for that. Is I really feel called in this moment to make sure you really invest in your kids' well-being.
That you
invest in your kids' well-being.
kids?
Your kids, that you're teaching them these little tiny habits that they won't need as much. That they've listened. When you get up every day, kind of check in. How's my gut feeling? How's my brain feeling? How's my anxiety feeling? And you start to tie in your thoughts and your actions with what's showing up. So when I wake up, if I don't feel good, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Okay, why do you have a touch of a headache today? Okay, well, I was clenching my teeth last night. Or you know what? Not bad, but not what I'm normally doing. And I teach people how to listen to their body because it's always talking to you. It's like, what's my bowel movement doing? What's my urine doing? What's my about this for yourself, but think about it for your kids, because you teach them at a young age to do that neck exercise. You change their life. You teach them to maybe take an Epsom salt soak and say, time out from the world. I'm going to go do this time out. Or so there's that. So Darcy, back to your question. The thing I would tell my younger self is to let go. Let go. I believe that I think I have held on to things too long. I'm better at it, tons better. I just was on vacation for 3 weeks, and people, I actually, they're like, what was the best part? So you know what? I was probably more unplugged than I've been in 30 years, and I wasn't unplugged. I checked emails every day. We had a couple minor fires, and also to realize that most things are minor in life, even though it may seem big. To most people in business, they think, oh, that was a pretty big deal. And I'm like, but it's not my first rodeo. So I would tell my younger self to take a chill pill. Will this matter in a week, 5 years? And let go.
That letting go.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Robin. This was amazing. You're amazing. Appreciate you and your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for all the great work you're doing. And like I said, I love the whole therapy aspect. I'm a Hoffman graduate. You may have heard of the Hoffman process.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
I'm a huge Hoffman. I talk about it every day. Was at this mentoring thing today, and a young lady there, I sent it to her. I'm like, here, read this essay. So I think we're all in this together. I think that's the other thing I tell myself, Darcy, is no one's getting out of this alive. How do I just have enough presence to love myself as much as I love everything else?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Love that piece too. I was just listening to that meditation this weekend. It was actually Louise Hay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
9 but yeah, just I'm like, oh yeah, that part. Loving more deeply myself and others. So
I bet you could guess that a lot of our clients do not realize what we do on a daily basis to be able to show up for them.
mhm.
I think that would be something interesting to collectively share,
Mm-hmm.
is being able to show up, what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you again. And Darcy will have all of your information underneath your video so that people will be able to get connected to you. And I know, Colleen, you mentioned YouTube videos. You're obviously on LinkedIn. It sounds like that you're very accessible and your people will help out. If people are wanting more information, they can access you through lots of different communications.
And easy to find, probably one of the easiest is Small Changes, Big Shifts, our podcast. We got a platform called smallchangesbigshifts.com. Lots of videos on there. It's our community about, it's our not-for-profit. It's really our give back arm. So once again, Colleen, thanks for joining us. Darcy, thank you for getting us all organized. And Michelle, extra big hugs coming your way, heart to heart.
Thank you. Thanks for doing this.
My pleasure.